Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are breaking down a story of absolutely epic proportions. We're going to trace the completely wild chronological journey of a legendary hunter's miraculous return to glory. So get ready because we are taking a cinematic deep dive into a world packed with magic, dungeon raids, and some seriously incredible character development.
And that brings us to a massive question right out of the gate. What actually happens when an 80-year-old legend suddenly becomes a 20-year-old prodigy? Just picture it. Imagine having the raw, unbridled physical power of a youth in their absolute prime, but it's entirely controlled by a century of ruthless combat experience and unmatched battle IQ. That's the core premise of our overpowered protagonist's journey. And trust me, it is a wild ride from start to finish. All right, let's jump right in. Section 1. The Legendary Hunter's Rebirth. So meet our main guy, Guak Pilsong. Decades ago, this guy was literally a living myth. We're talking an SS tier veteran who cleared over 10,000 dungeons and saved countless lives before he just mysteriously disappeared. Now, to understand him today, you have to look at this hilarious contrast. On the outside, he looks like a scrawny, vibrant 20-year-old rookie, but on the inside, he's still a grumpy, completely exhausted 80-year-old veteran who honestly just wants a nap. This whole grandpa in a prodigy's body persona is so fun to watch. It highlights a really fascinating truth in this universe. Raw power is dangerous, for sure, but true mastery, that only comes from seasoned experience. He literally views all these arrogant, hot-headed young hunters running around him as disobedient toddlers who desperately need a timeout.
But you're probably wondering, how did he even get this new body? Well, it started with a massive ambush at his nursing home. When a deadly dungeon break unleashes giant monster ants right into his facility, the exhausted elderly Pilsong grabs the nearest weapon, which just so happens to be a standard kitchen knife. In this incredibly cinematic sequence, he not only slaughters the entire horde of ants, but he also brutally takes down a massive boss monster. It's a giant praying mantis. He totally proves that his legendary skills never dulled for a single second.
And get this, the system that governs their world actually recognizes this impossible feat and rewards him handsomely for it. He receives the god's blessing of eternal life, and his physical body reverts perfectly back to its 20-year-old prime. But here's the catch. Pilsong chooses to keep his true identity a total secret. Why? Because back in the day, his legendary status caused young, over-eager hunters to sacrifice their own lives just to protect him. Completely guilt-ridden by that, he decides it's just safer for everyone if the legend of Guak Pilsong stays buried. Which leads us seamlessly into Section 2, the Rigged Dungeon Trap. So Pilsong, wanting to quietly test drive this new body, registers as a beginner and joins a low-level D-rank raid. But his attempt to lay low immediately plunges him into a deadly, widespread conspiracy. The really interesting flaw here involves the Hunter Association's technology. They use this device called the Dungeon Rating Meter to measure a gate's danger level, and rookie hunters trust this thing blindly. If the meter says it's a D rank, they treat it like a walk in the park. But Pilsong quickly realizes the machine is dead wrong. And worse, the association actually knows it miscalculates sometimes, but deliberately hides that fact from the public. Man, the consequences of this rigged meter are immediate. Inside this supposed D-rank desert dungeon, a massive C-rank purple serpent suddenly ambushes the party. While the arrogant rookie hunters, like this thug named Wang Scorpion, totally panic and freeze up, Pilsong just steps forward. With a single, devastating, absolute blur of a slash, he completely decapitates the beast. He absolutely shocks the rookies around him. But wait, the tension violently escalates. That snake? It wasn't even the boss. The true threat emerges from the sands, a colossal, three-headed purple snake. And to make matters worse, it has the terrifying ability to instantly regenerate any severed heads. The lower-ranked party members are thrown into total despair. Fire blasts are raining down on them, and to top it all off, the dungeon exit completely vanishes. But Pilsong's battle IQ is just unmatched. Realizing standard slashes won't stop the regeneration, he uses raw environmental combat. He leaps way up a nearby cliff, channels his immense physical power, and slices a massive boulder clean in half. The colossal rock plummets down and instantly crushes the beast into dust. It's an epic finish that proves a fundamental lesson here. Raw battle sense will always be flashy magical skills. This brings us to Section 3, War on Corrupt Guilds. After barely surviving the rigged dungeon, Pilsong just can't ignore the rot within the system anymore. His display of power draws some really shady attention, and the stakes escalate rapidly. Look at this timeline. 10 years ago, the legend retires.
On day 1 of our story, he regains his youth. By week 1, he's surviving rigged dungeons, and within a single month, he goes from a seemingly nobody rookie to becoming a major political threat operating right in the shadows. He moves incredibly fast.
And he does it with serious style and a whole lot of humor. During a promotion exam, this arrogant B-rank hunter tries to bully Pilsong, unleashing these powerful magic spears. Instead of fighting back with magic, Pilsong casually catches the spear barehanded. He then proceeds to discipline the bully like a misbehaving child. He literally sends him flying across the arena with a series of simple, devastating finger flicks to the forehead. It's a hilarious display of absolute dominance. But, the humor quickly fades when Pilsung uncovers the dark web of corruption going on. We get a stark reminder of how institutions can weaponize their authority against the vulnerable. The Northern Light Guild is out here forcing rookies into literal slave contracts. Meanwhile, the Grizzly Guild goes as far as kidnapping a young hunter friend of Pilsong's. And sitting at the very top, pulling all the strings, the Corrupt Hunter Association, manipulating these guilds to do their dirty work. This deeply, deeply angers our righteous protagonist. This anger boils over into a high-stakes showdown with Su Wong-ho, the terrifying S-rank master of the Grizzly Guild. Su Wong-ho wields a legendary tier S-rank sword called the Fang of the Fire Dragon, but Pilsong doesn't even flinch. In a brilliant move, he effortlessly blocks the blazing S-rank weapon using a completely basic, unenhanced blade. He totally humiliates the guildmaster, providing a massive takeaway for us all. A weapon, or really any tool for that matter, is only ever as good as the warrior wielding it.
So here's the really brilliant part: how Pilsung capitalizes on this victory. He doesn't just beat the bad guys, he outsmarts them. Step 1, he beats the Grizzly Guild master into submission. Step 2, he forces the rival Northern Light Guild to absorb Grizzly. And step 3, he now secretly commands this newly formed super guild from the shadows. He basically creates his very own personal army to wage war against the Corrupt Hunter Association. It is a mastermind-level plan.
And that sets the stage for our final act, Section 4, the Inner Dungeon Anomaly. Now that he's got his chess pieces on the board, Pilsong begins taking on rural, low-level dungeons to improve his puppet guild's public relations. But what seems like a standard PR mission completely spirals into total chaos. Inside this overgrown jungle dungeon, Pilsong and his team face a horde of hostile primates, led by a giant flying macaque that breathes massive fireballs. While the other hunters are pinned down, Pilsong once again relies on pure physical strength. He rips a massive rock straight out of the ground and hurls it like a missile directly into the monster's wing, swatting the flying boss right out of the sky in a fast-paced, visceral takedown. He finishes the boss off, but then... huge plot twist. Quote, "But when the boss fell, the gate didn't close. New monsters appeared, tearing each other apart. Instead of the dungeon ending, the rules completely break. Space itself begins to crack. They've stumbled into a chaotic inner dungeon, which is basically an anomaly where monsters of completely different biomes are viciously attacking each other. Before they can even wrap their heads around this broken ecosystem, a blinding light flashes. An unbearably loud, high-pitched noise pierces their ears. Slowly, right before our eyes, Pilsong and his reluctant ally begin to pixelate. The system suddenly announces the dungeon is cleared, and without any warning whatsoever, they are teleported entirely out of the wasteland, just vanishing into thin air. When Pilsong finally opens his eyes, he is definitely not on Earth anymore. He says, "Where am I? And why is this new blessing making me immune to the freezing cold?" He wakes up entirely alone in a blindingly white, snowy biome. The system has inexplicably gifted him a new blessing of cold immunity, a power that feels a lot less like a reward and way more like a tool he's going to desperately need to survive wherever he has just landed. And wow, talk about a cliffhanger. As he walks through the snow, Pilsong stumbles upon a group of hunters speaking a completely foreign language, and they are desperately fighting a massive yeti. He steps in to save them with a single slash, but the questions remain. Who exactly are these foreign hunters? Have they been teleported across the world, or maybe to a completely different dimension? And what on earth lies ahead for the legendary Guac Pilsong in this frozen wasteland? It is an epic setup that leaves us absolutely desperate for the next chapter of this incredible journey. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and definitely keep your eyes peeled for what happens next.